Yeah. She's very into it. I know. That's good.
I'll send you everyone's proposal for your signature, so directly from it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
When we had all kinds of inside, outside, I agree.
Yeah, they all tired.
No, so it's,
Yeah. My first two were I feel like my daughter
How are we doing?
I'm gonna check it now. All right, it appears to be working.
All right. Perfect. Thank you for fixing that.
No problem.
All right, where are we? Item number 7? Okay. Item number 7 is the continued discussion and possible authorization to advertise proposed amendment to Chapter 7, Township Manager of the West Goshen Township Code of Ordinances. So we discussed this at our April 18th board meeting. And I see that some things have been addressed. Either Chris or Kristen, did you want to make any comment on?
Sure. I think Mr. Hellman pointed out that section 7-2 also needed to be revised. So that section currently says that the manager is appointed for an indefinite term, and that's actually not accurate under the second class code. So we also, it was my recommendation that you just basically reference the fact that you may, but you don't have to enter some sort of agreement with the manager, which again mirrors the language in the second class code. So that will really, to the extent that the board does enter any sort of contractual obligation with the manager, that could, it doesn't have to, set forth what severance rights that manager may have. So it's really just sort of deferring that conversation or that decision to whatever employment agreement the board either chooses to enter or not.
Also in section 7.5, it talks about the assistant township manager that we don't have. Do we need that in there?
Well, I think that that position may at some point be filled. So, I mean, to the extent there ever is one, I think that that's fine to keep it in.
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Or was it private advertisement? We have to advertise it, right? So-
That's right.
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor to advertise amendment to Chapter 7, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to item number 8, which is the discussion and possible approval of resolution number 15-2024, granting preliminary final subdivision approval at 315 Powell Lane to subdivide a piece of land and combine that portion with property owned by West Goshen Township. Mr. Bayshore, would you like to introduce this?
Madam Chair, before the board this evening is proposed resolution number 15-2024, which would grant preliminary final subdivision approval for a small subdivision off of a property at 315 Powell Lane. This is something that we have been working on for about a year at this point. Essentially, there is an existing footpath that was created over a period of time that allowed access from Powell Lane down to Cooper Smith Park. So Cooper Smith Park is right here where my cursor is, and the footpath generally runs from the edge of the dark gray shaded area down here where it exists, along a tree line and a fence line. So the subdivision would create this lot off of the remaining lot, which is here for 315 Powell Lane. There would also be a easement to allow for access to the remaining property at 315 Powell Lane, and it would be the new lot would be connected to the lot for Cooper Smith Park to the south. So it's a very basic subdivision plan.
The lot is not just the gray part, right?
It's the whole
Correct.
strip. Yeah.
So this is the area, we marked out the area where the easement would be granted for access, and then this is the area, this is the whole new lot, this is the footpath, and then this is the easement area. There's an undedicated portion of Powell Lane, and if you look at the aerial imagery, you can see where the new paving stops. So that's essentially what the dark gray area is. So now that'll all be conveyed to the township.
Great. Are there any questions about this?
So I had asked Kristen to look into the issue that there is another driveway in addition to the property owner that is conveying, that we're purchasing this strip of land from. So on Isabel Lane, 1128, there is a driveway that's been constructed at some point that now has an entrance exit that also would need to go through that gray shaded area that's shown on the
Where's the
drawing.
driveway?
So the driveway access area is right.
Chris, could you zoom in on that a little
Let me
bit?
just pass
so
this
everyone
around.
can see it.
The driveway that he's talking about is shown in red. So they currently, because when Powell Lane did not, this is unopened Powell Lane, so they each owned the center line of that. And right now, they just both use each other's property to come out. So that's not a problem, Sean. I mean, it's going to be publicly owned.
It's an easement, right?
Well, we don't have, I mean, it's like coming out onto a public road. We don't need a grand easement for that, but if we wanted to, we could.
So what's the purpose of showing on this diagram that there's an easement needed?
I think Mr. Brubaker asked for that.
Mr. Brubaker asked for that, and it came about because the new property boundary to the east is actually going to cut right through his existing driveway. So when you run it out, if you look at the aerial imagery from like Chesco views, you can kind of see where it is. Actually, let me pull it up real quick.
But Sean, we don't have a problem if we can, once the township owns it, we can record a one-page easement that just makes sure they have the right to continue to use that egress to get onto that township land. That's fine.
So in the future, when Powell Lane is resurfaced, we would resurface this strip of what's currently been on private property. Now it will be a township property, so it'll be part of the road project whenever we get to it.
So who will be responsible for the roads?
We are now.
Plowing and also maintenance.
What's the
But
driveway?
it's just the same as Powell Lane.
We would be.
Yeah, it's towards Township.
I'll let Chris pull it up, so it's much easier to have a visual of it.
That is.
So if you look,
Yeah.
so one of the issues was, if you follow the diagram for the new lot line, it would cut right through the driveway right here. So the real purpose of the easement area is to make sure that his driveway is still accessible.
But-
Part of it is his driveway.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's going to be public land. He's going to have the right to, can't take that away. So I don't have a problem belt and suspendering it by having an easement and actually already prepared the deed. And in the deed, I reserved an easement for him. And we can, when the township then is the owner, we can also reserve an easement to the other property owner. That's not a problem.
Okay.
That way it's clear in their chain of title that they can continue to use that second egress.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we met on site, to Kristen's point, when we met on site, when me and HRG met on site with him back in October, this was something that Mr. Brubaker had requested.
Okay.
And that lot line for Isabel Lane is not changing at all, so that right there will continue to be the property owned by the 1128 Isabel Lane, correct?
Yeah, so they'll still, part of where they pull out is their property, yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
then is there a motion to approve resolution number 15-2024?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thanks, Tina. Is there any public comment?
Just a couple of questions. What's next? After we approve this subdivision tonight, what's the next step here?
They'll make the, HRG will make any sort of final revisions to address the comments from the township engineer. And under our agreement of sale, we have 30 days in which to make settlement with them.
Right, but they have to get a release of their mortgage, and he's working on that, so that might take longer than 30 days.
I've
The
put,
mortgage company has to release the strip going to the township.
If the sale is approved tonight, then we're going to go ahead and execute the agreement of sale.
well, the agreement of sale,
Agreement of sale's already signed.
it's already been executed. The board approved the agreement of sale in December.
So that's done, so now this is, and after this, it will be recorded deeds.
Correct. So the timing provisions were outlined in the agreement of sale.
At what point will the township be able to take over ownership, is what I'm getting at, and be able to do some site improvements?
When we get to closing, which we hope will be in 30 days, as long as he can get his mortgage released in that time frame.
Okay. So we have to have some conversation before, get on that one. He has in mind,
We've been in touch with him, and he's been great to work with. So we have, I know Kristen has sent him like a form letter for his mortgage company and everything, so we've been progressing things.
yeah, and then talking about possibly putting down like an asphalt walkway or something like that there. All right, sounds good.
So I'm sorry, do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah. Motion is second, but no vote.
Is there any comment or questions on the
January
motion?
2nd.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none? Motion carries. Item number 9 is the discussion and possible approval of resolution number 16-2024, granting preliminary final land development approval to develop the property at 1205 Ward Avenue, which is the Brandywine Airport, with 4 aircraft hangars and retrofitting an existing stormwater management basin. Ms. Smith, would you like to introduce us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before the Board of Supervisors this evening is consideration for resolution number 16-2024. This resolution would grant preliminary and final land development approval for 1205 Ward Avenue, known as the Brandywine Airport. The applicant proposes to construct 4 aircraft hangars and retrofit an existing stormwater management basin on the property. As a part of the proposed resolution before the board, the applicant is seeking 2 waivers from the subdivision land development ordinance, which includes a waiver from section 7214 to allow the application to be processed and approved as a preliminary final plan, as well as a waiver from section 7219C to accept the FAA environmental categorical exclusion report in lieu of the environmental impact assessment.
Okay, thank you. So the FAA environmental, whatever that is just what the FAA uses. It serves the same purpose as the environmental impact assessment?
It's probably a report that whenever they have to get a federal permit, they have to do an environmental report, so they probably need an FAA permit and therefore have to submit a report to the federal government, which the township engineer has determined would include the similar information that would be required under your EIA reports.
Okay.
Permits. That makes sense.
Madam Chair, I believe there are 2 representatives from Brandywine Airport here this evening.
Thank you for joining us. There you are. Okay. So it's going to be 4 hangars. And there's going to be a basin retrofit. Is that what you're doing? As a stormwater management control?
Yes, there's no additional impervious area, but per your current ordinance,
Okay.
we had to revert more of the impervious area back to meadow, which entailed changing the outlet structure on the existing pond to just plug another hole and raise it a little higher.
Okay.
So I had prepared this draft resolution that has conditions of approval, again, just making sure the township engineer's last review letter is complied with, the fire marshal's last review letter, sewer authority has to obtain, any sewer approvals you need from them, and then reimburse the township for any outstanding consultant review fees, obtain all regulatory permits necessary, execute the development agreement, financial security agreement, and stormwater best management agreement. It's really
Okay. And the other thing that I was looking at was the feedback from the County Planning Commission. So they wanted us to ask you about landscaping along the north side of Ward Avenue. So if I'm looking at this, where's Ward Avenue?
Where that was right in the middle.
Is it,
Right here?
Nope, down.
No, that's
Down a
still,
little bit more.
Yeah.
right there, yep.
So at an airport, landscaping is really a bad thing to do.
mm-hmm.
It attracts animals, fowls, everything that can get in the airplanes and the turbines. And it's just not a good thing, and the FAA discourages against any landscaping.
Is that all impervious surface anyway in that area, or is it grass?
Grass, I think, right?
It's grass?
It's all grass area.
Okay. All right, I just figured I would ask.
Sure.
I have a question too. Oh,
Yeah, go. Well, I was just gonna ask, so the other thing that the County Planning Commission wanted us to follow up with was about the lighting and the hanger lighting. So what is that
All lighting
Gonna look
will be
like-
shielded,
downward?
pushing down.
Okay.
Yes, we don't want anything glaring for any people along the road.
I'm
or the
sure
airplanes
you're
or
on top of that, yeah.
Especially the runway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So everything will be down, it'll be down shaded lights,
All right, great.
yeah.
So I think the utility diagram shows a new water supply to these hangars. Is that correct? What is water used for in these hangars? Because I presume that will ultimately drain into the sanitary sewer extension you're putting in, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they're gonna have some future restroom areas within the hangars.
Right.
And there's no floor drains, no washing of equipment, no,
There are trench drains within the facility.
Yes, but the trench
do
drains,
not go to the sanitary sewer, correct?
no. The trench drains will empty into an oil water separator, which then in turn will empty into the basin.
Okay.
So it's treated and then emptied into the basin?
Well, it's not really, you said an oil water separator?
Yeah, oil water
It's not really
separator.
treated, it's just you're separating it out.
Right, separating
And
it out,
then-
correct.
yeah, and then disposing of the sludge or anything in the oil water
Correct,
separator.
exactly, yes.
Yeah, and then as far as the sewer, who's paying for that?
The airport would be paying for the sewer.
Okay, because you're putting in the lateral. Is there a main there now?
There's a main on Ward Avenue.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
okay.
there's a main on board avenue,
Okay.
so we would have to put a lateral.
Tie in the lateral,
Tie in
okay.
the lateral, yes.
Okay.
One thing I saw in the diagram, this is really in the details, so please excuse my question here, but I noticed that your gas line runs parallel to the sanitary sewer and then cuts underneath it. Is there any way you could run it so it continues not to interfere with the run of the sanitary sewer? It's just that down the road at some point, you know, we're gonna have to dig and someone's gonna have to look in that sanitary sewer and you're gonna have a gas line right there and everyone's gonna be concerned about where it is. Could you not keep them
We'll look
Yes,
at that.
yes, we could separate that, yes.
We would look
You know what I'm talking about, right?
We can look at that. We tried first and foremost to keep the water and the sanitary separated because they need to be 10 feet apart.
Right.
Look at the gas line too.
You know.
Right.
What tanks do you have on site, underground or above ground for fuel? Do you have any fuel tanks?
Fuel tanks we have, and they're underground, but we're actually working with the FAA within the next 2 years to get a grant to replace the tanks with above-ground tanks. We want to get the tanks out of the ground as much as anybody else does.
Do you know if they're fiberglass or steel?
They're fiberglass tanks,
Okay.
and we have a monitoring system on there that it monitors 24 hours a day, and it gives us a readout every morning.
Okay.
So in other words, if it detects a leak, that's one of the jobs of the manager and the assistant manager is to get the reading off of that system every morning. So it's monitored closely.
Okay.
So if you wanted to shine, you could add a condition that they consider and try their best to relocate the gas line so
Well,
it's
I think you said it was
separated.
possible, did you?
Yeah.
So I think we just put as a condition, that the gas lines run
That's
separate
fine.
from the sanitary sewer and does not cross its path.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just a change of zone.
Okay, so then is there a motion to approve resolution 16-2024 with that condition added?
I'll second.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Sean. Is there any question or comments on this motion?
Just the matter of record, the planning commission did look at this, and they approved it at their April 9th meeting.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, Dr. White.
Is there any noise consideration? Any noise from the aircraft consideration from any neighboring entities?
Right now, we don't have any noise complaint from any of the neighboring buildings around us. And we're basically the airplanes that are going into these hangars are already based on the field. It's just that the owners, want to get the aircraft into a hangar, so it's not sitting out on the ramp area.
Okay,
So they're already based there.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
I had one little question. On the agreements, do you have like standard agreements
Yeah.
you can send to them?
Sure thing.
Okay.
I'll give you my card, you can email me, that way I'll give it to you tomorrow.
All right. Then we'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 5-0. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 10, which is a discussion and possible approval of resolution number 17-2024. Thank you, Kristen. Have a good night. Declaring the week of May 19th, 2024 to May 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. So this would recognize the contributions that our public works professionals make to the community, which are many. This year's theme is advancing quality of life for all. And the American Public Works Association outlines the theme as follows. Thank you for this verbiage, Mr. Bayshore. I'm going to read this. The Advancing Quality of Life for All theme shines a spotlight on the way public works professionals advance our quality of life, whether as a first responder to an electricity outage, regular waste pickup, or a myriad of other ways they silently serve their communities. Mr. Bayshore put a note in here. But he commends the work that our public works do, and I echo that sentiment. I think all of us here on the board do. So I am happy to make the motion to approve resolution 17-2024 to designate May 19th to May 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Is there a second?
I just
Thank
wanted
you,
to
Mr.
make-
Hellman.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
I said one comment. We're talking about public works on the actual resolution itself. Shouldn't we be including sewer?
Sewer is part of Public Works.
Okay, it's down at the bottom, we talk about water treatment, but, okay. I didn't know if we wanted to add sewer due to the definition.
Sewer is part of Public Works, and they are equally appreciated.
And I think the sewer would fall under water treatment. It's part of the function.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments on the motion?
What's the thought about having a luncheon for these folks? What do you think?
It might be difficult that week just because it's like right before Memorial Day, but I think we can figure out something to do recognize.
We can figure out something to do, yeah.
I think it's nice to have a resolution, but it's better to get
Yes, Ms.
Can
White.
we kind of narrow down like the lunches and celebrations? Because I know in the past it was holiday luncheon, summer picnic, and then administrative appreciation week, and public works week. So I'd kind of like to see as a taxpayer, yes, they're very much appreciated, but either go with the holiday luncheon skip the other lunches, or when it's Public Works Week, get the lunch, get the breakfast, whatever, celebrate it up, and then forego the other
Lunches.
spendy lunches.
Okay, noted. Thank you for your comment. Any other comments or questions?
And what other suggestions do you have to show that they're very much appreciated other than an ordinance on a piece of black and white paper?
Say that again.
What other suggestions do you have other than just saying thank you on a piece of paper on black and white?
Well, I'm saying celebrate them, have a lunch for Public Works Week. Don't have a Public Works Week luncheon, and then again, a summer picnic celebration and a holiday celebration. I mean, they are very appreciated. They're treated very well. They have exceptional benefits. They have a lot of time off. Taxpayers show their appreciation in many, many, many ways, and I don't think we need to continue to just, have lunches all the time.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We're going to take a vote then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 5-0. Very good. Moving on to item number 11, which is the discussion and possible awarding of the contract for pension advisor services for the West Goshen Township pension funds. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Bayshore, although I know that, I guess Mr. Walsh was heavily involved in this decision. I'll let both of you kind of introduce this.
So, Mr. Walsh, I can kick this off.
Go right ahead.
Fill in anything I misstate. So before the board this evening is consideration to award the contract for pension advisor services for the township's pension fund. The current advisor is Vanguard, who has served in this capacity since 2008. As the board is aware, Vanguard advised its clients at the end of 2023 that it would be selling its outsourced chief investment officer to a company called Mercer, and Mercer has advised the township and all of its other public sector clients that it will no longer manage public sector pension funds. In order to evaluate options, a request for proposal was issued by the township in accordance with Act 44 and the township's investment policy. There were 11 responses to the RFP as follows, and I listed all the respondents in the memo that's before the board. The pension committee undertook a review of the proposals received, which include reviewing the proposal documents, scheduling interviews. We interviewed 3 companies, which were Gerard Pension Services, Siemens INR, and PNC Institutional Asset Management. Conducted a site visit and evaluating rates of return. At the conclusion of this process, it is recommended that PNC Institutional Asset Management be awarded with the work, and I provided a copy of the RFP response from PNC for the board's review.
Thank you, Mr. Bayshore. Mr. Walsh, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think it was a very good process that was used. We had 5 members of the pension committee involved in reviewing the RFP responses, assessing those and selecting who they wanted to interview. We had good interviews. PNC did a very good job with their interview process, and then the follow-up visit by Mr. Broom, Mr. Walker, and myself to PNC in Philadelphia was very well done by them, and I have no qualms at all about endorsing this recommendation by the pension committee and fully support PNC being our new asset investment advisor. If it's approved by the board tonight, the process would basically take 6 weeks to transfer, open the accounts, transfer the assets, and that being fully on board. So our new investment advisor, which meets the deadline that Vanguard has to exit the business, so there will be no gap in advisor services. Their fee was the lowest of any of the bidders, I believe, Chris, when we looked at that analysis. And there is no change to the distribution of pensions by Bryn Mawr Trust to the existing pensioners, so all looks good.
Wow, great. So I'm impressed that you guys actually went down to Philadelphia and did an on-site visit.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. Okay, any other questions about this from the board?
I just wanted to follow up with that. You said, what is their asset allocation perspective? Is it 70-30? Is it like Vanguard?
Well, they would like to work with us on our investment policy statement. They say that almost all clients are in the 60 to 70% allocation of equities to fixed income. They think we have a good, their analysis of our current allocations say we will meet, or they believe we will meet our target for returns over the next 10 years. So no changes proposed, might be some fine tuning, but I think it's in good shape. So.
One item I will add is, in addition to the items that were listed here, we also undertook a reference check. We undertook a reference check since we had worked with them before, and all the references came back very positive. We contacted 5 municipalities, only 4 responded to us, but they were all very positive.
Good.
What were some of the municipalities that the service was?
Upper Darby Township. The ones we contacted were Upper Darby Township, Lower Mayfield Township in Bucks County, the city of Lebanon, and I don't remember the 4th off the top of my head.
Okay.
Chris, did they provide a contract for us to start working with Kristen on yet?
They did. I sent it to Kristen's office. She responded back to me that she didn't feel that they were qualified to review it because of some of the requirements that are in there, so she recommended having Scott Blissman's office look at it, so I forwarded it on to Scott, and his office is reviewing it.
What's the time frame of like the contract? I mean, is it a 1-year commitment?
Essentially, it's until the board decides to move on to another provider.
Okay.
You should, I believe it's under our investment policy as well as Act 44, that you really should do these every 5 years, but you don't have to do them every 5
Is that something
years.
that we would do at the organizational meeting and kind of reappoint them?
It
or
would be a
is this
decision
just-
around, does the board want to this year do an RFP for pension services? So
Okay.
we've been with Vanguard a long time. We actually decided to do one in 22.
We did it in 22, awarded it, actually, 1 year ago now.
Today?
Back to Vanguard, who then 7 months later turned around and said, we're exiting this
Oh my
business,
gosh.
which is a business decision by them,
Yeah.
so.
It's really strange to know. Yeah.
But, no, if the pension, if for whatever reason, the relationship just doesn't seem to be working within those 5-year period, there's nothing holding you to 5 years.
The companies that we interviewed are all perfectly capable of executing this work as well. It's not like this is the only show in
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
Just believe it's the best one from what they present.
But are we mandated every 5 years to do an RFP process for this? Is this something we have to do? Or
Well,
is that to our discretion?
It went, you should do it every 5 years under investment policy statement, but it wasn't done
It wasn't
in
being
5
done.
years. So that was kind of what kick-started the review process in 22, and now we're at where we are.
We're doing it every year at this point.
No, Mr. Walsh, we cannot do this every year.
It was a joke, guys, it was a joke,
Yeah,
trying to be a
it's
little
funny.
humor
It's funny
here.
to- Did we have a motion? Or not
No,
yet?
we did not.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to award the contract for pension advisor services to PNC.
Okay, thank you. Is
I'll
there-
second that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smith. Is there any question or comment? Yes, Dr. White?
Chris, you got a really great job, and really, this is a really great process. Also, is our money right now still at Vanguard?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, are they going to charge us a fee to withdraw it?
No,
No.
Okay.
Good question.
it's transferred as is.
We
So
got-
as of the day of the transfer, whatever the asset values are, will move into a new account with
So
PNC.
we're not going to charge the exit fee, okay?
Yeah.
They shouldn't. Okay. All in favor then?
Aye.
Did you have a question? Okay. Aye. All opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion carries 5-0. Thank you again, Sean and Chris, for taking that on. All right, item number 12 is the approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes from April 2nd, 2024. Did the board have any major changes to this of concern?
I didn't see any typos, so.
Excellent.
John's usually the eagle eye, I'm looking at.
No, I didn't find it.
Okay. Great. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes from April 2nd? Okay, hearing none, then we're going to take the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. And finally, item number 13, which is the approval of the bills to be paid for the general fund, the sewer revenue fund, the waste and recycling fund, and the capital reserve fund. Are there any questions or comments by the board on the bills?
I have one question, Madam Chair.
Sure.
On the first page, there's $23,268 on Bureau of Unclaimed Property. Just wondering what that is?
So-
Off of Pennsylvania.
That was a check that we had to send from unclaimed property from the police department. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that was something that was requested by the state.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I did.
All right, hold on 1 second. Yeah, what, is there somebody? who
Yeah, I'll
wants
make a motion to approve the bills to be paid as of May 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ms. Smith. Yes, Ms. Smart.
I didn't go through it with a fine tooth comb, but just right now I had a couple. And I believe I've asked this before, Chris, and you gotta remind me. You audit phone bills, like, okay, so what employees get phones?
Generally speaking,
Yeah, generally.
public works employees, police officers, you have the department heads in public works, couple other random employees, but generally speaking, it's public works and police.
And then same with like the jetpacks.
The jetpacks are assigned to department heads, and they're generally used, and police.
I just know and I've heard that it's outside local governments, that sometimes when employees leave, they take jetpacks and phones with them and all that stuff. So that's all tracked, same with like easy passes.
Well, the phones, the employees pay for the phone, so they're entitled to the device. So if they leave, they can take the device. We pay for the service, and as soon as they leave, I terminate the service. They transfer the number, and then I terminate the service.
What's a jetpack?
It's like an internet device. It's like a mobile internet device.
Okay.
So how's that work? Not that I would ever file a right to know request, but like for text messages and phone calls and all that other stuff, that because it's the employee's phone, then.
We pay for the service.
So that would be, to get that information.
I suppose so, yes, they'd have to go through Verizon, and Verizon only releases that information under subpoena.
Okay. Great.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, hearing none, then all in favor of approving the bills, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. I'll second. Go ahead, Mr. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
so much,
Yeah, I guess he didn't pick up on it either.
Doesn't want to say anything.
You've been served.
See you, Doug.
Oh, hi.